Welcome to another episode of Decoding Chemical Engineering. Today we are here with Mr. Emmanuel Ortega, also famously known as the chemical engineering guy, the savior of different chemical engineers around the globe. Thank you so very much, Emmanuel, for being with us here today on the podcast. It is truly appreciated for you to find time to be here with us today. But before we begin, can you kindly tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, well, first things first, my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. We had been planning this interview maybe literally months, but gladfully we are here. And well, for those that may know me or not that much or not at all, I'm Emmanuel Ortega. I'm from Mexico. I'm a chemical engineer. And I graduated back in 2012. So I started my route on chemical engineering as a process engineer in the polymer textile industry. And actually, I enjoyed it a lot. I was there almost 2 years, but I really didn't like that much the other side of the coin, which is that chemical engineering doesn't have that much of liberty or freedom to have nice vacations. And I saw my boss and I saw myself looking whether or not I'm going to wait for those 5-7 years to be in that position. And I really didn't see myself waiting for that. And I always wanted to make something of my business of my own, maybe something on the side hustle or anything that will eventually help me to improve my income. And at the moment, my brother had a musical academy for accordion players. And that's when I saw the opportunity. The academy was online, so I said to myself, I could do the same for chemical engineers, and I actually enjoy a lot chemical engineering, the academics parts or all these aspects. And yes, that's how I actually started my online business on academics, helping students all around the world. Well, actually, I started on Spanish because that's my first tongue, my mother tongue, and I really didn't see that much potential back then, 2014. So I switched to English, and I actually switched it for English just for the sake of, I don't know, the US market and maybe the European market. But actually, what I noted is that there's a lot of people around the world interested in chemical engineering. So there's a lot of people from Middle East, so a lot of people from Egypt, a lot of people from Korea, Japan, and South Africa, a lot of like markets that I wouldn't even guess they existed, or maybe that I could help people out there. So that's how I really saw the big picture, and I said, this is the language that I need to be working on and to produce content for students. Although eventually I saw that maybe helping recent graduates or certain engineers working in the industry such as oil and gas could be also helpful. And that's what I have been doing since 2014, almost 9 years already. And of course, as you can imagine, social media and social marketing has been changing. So I have been trying to adapt to those changes. So that's what I do. If you are into chemical engineering courses or trainings, you may find my channel, which is my main source. Like, it has been always my main source of people knowing me, which is the YouTube channel, the Chemical Engineering Guy channel.
Amazing. I mean, that's truly an amazing story. And on behalf of chemical engineers, because me being a chemical engineer myself, I have to say that your content has really, truly been very helpful for many engineering students around the globe. To be honest, I first came across your channel, I think it was back in 2018-19. That's when I was doing the master's myself. So I have actually been following you myself for a very long time. And so to be sitting here today and to interview you, I think that's truly amazing to get a chance to learn more about you. So once again, thank you so very much for being with us here today. And then, we have very more exciting questions to ask you on this podcast. So I guess let's get the ball rolling. Well, then, I know that you mentioned now that why you came into chemical engineering and why you have decided to do what you do, but still, we would very much like to learn more about what motivated you to join chemical engineering in the first place.
Well, I actually have some YouTube videos on that and have always worked out some Reddit forum posts. And I will say 80% of the people that go into chemical engineering is because we are good at math, we are good in chemistry, and maybe we picture ourselves as chemical engineers. We may imagine what it is, most likely not what we are actually doing in chemical engineering. And the other side will be you have someone that has been working as a chemical engineer and you seem to like that. But essentially I was good at math, I was good at chemistry, and I didn't want to be like a teacher, which I ended up being, but I wanted to work in the industry. So the most or the easiest way to do so is via chemical engineering.
Amazing. So like you could hit all the marks with one hammer, and that was chemical engineering. So that's great.
Exactly.
But then, it's great that I'm pretty glad that you joined chemical engineering, and it's really great to see where you are today. But going back to when you started working in the industry, because then what was your very first job when you graduated right after school?
Was process engineering, working for a polymer textile industry, which actually I had the luck that wasn't that far away. So although I know that if you're a process engineer, it's most likely you're going to be either in a small town or in the outside of the city, but this specifically was in the heart of the city, and I had no excuse on that. So I really enjoyed all the process engineering part, and the life-work balance was relatively okay.
Okay, amazing. And as being a process engineer right after school, what were the normal or typical responsibilities that you had to deal with?
Well, the very first one will be to maintain your boss happy. That's the basic one. And in order to do so, I had to actually control the process and maintain all the textiles and all the, I don't know how to say them, but when you wind them, all those yarns, and they must be within specification. And the specification, that's also an interesting point because sometimes you actually set them up as a company internally, or sometimes the client comes and says, I want such specifications. So it was a challenge to maintain both, because sometimes they were very wide, so you could actually like relax on certain type of specifications. But in some other cases, which will be most of the cases, you need to adapt a lot of the process in order to adjust to the final specifications that the client is asking for.
Okay, amazing. And if I was to ask, because let's say if someone else if someone else wants to work as a process engineer, what were the key skills that you had to use at your job?
It really depends on the type of process engineering jobs, because there's a lot of variety. But depending, the most common ones, I'm going to aim for the common ones, which I will say mine was a common one or general one, because sometimes you work by yourself, sometimes you don't go at the factory at all, you can do it all via internet or so. But the most common one is you need to be there, you need to show the example for the process engineers or junior engineers or all the operators. And what you need to do is, essentially be there on time and showing how the process is done, because operators have it easy in the sense that you have the specifications, I do that. And I'm going to be 8 hours in the machine checking out that. But the specification is your task. So generally, I would say that was the day-to-day life. You just go there, check out the routines, the machines, get together with the team, try to work, a lot of teamwork, I would say, or type of skills. And of course, mathematical, analytical skills, you need to know all the points or try to relate them. Computer skills as well, because there's a lot of things that you can do with the computer. Sometimes it's way easier just to use Excel or a type of charts that will show you very clearly the position. And talking about that, it's not just about finding the data, but also exposing them or presenting them to your boss or fellow colleagues. So that's another skill, very important skill, is maybe you have the truth and you want to make a change that will impact in a positive way. But if you are not able to convey that, let's say that idea, I will say that skill of interacting, like emotional intelligence, know who to say what, when, to who, and that type of interaction is very valuable. And specifically for engineers, like most of the engineers have the analytical and mathematical ideas, but the other side will be the soft skills. So those are much more valuable, I will say, in the long run.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, that's very nicely put. And I fully agree. Soft skills are much more important than having the hard skills, even if you're working in the industry as an engineer. So that was very nicely explained. Because now that you graduated and you got the job directly as a process engineer in the industry, if I was to ask, how was your experience on a personal level? Maybe in general, like the work-life balance, like you mentioned in the beginning, that you have to be there, you have to be present all the time, and generally those things.
So the main problem was that I saw my boss and they couldn't take that much of vacations, even though they actually had the days or the holidays or I don't know. But I saw them that they had to be always here because if something happens, they need to be here, like making calls or messages, which is a very millennial thing to do. Doesn't really work that much when things are urgent. So being here is the best thing that you can do in order to make stuff happen. And that's literally what I didn't want back in the day. I didn't want to be here, or maybe I have 1 month of vacations. I want to go to, I don't know, travel the world or do whatever thing, whatever I can imagine, not being here. And that was almost impossible. So I had to maybe take 1 week, then maybe 2 weeks later in the year. And maybe I had to wait for vacations in the holiday season. So that had some impact in my life that felt that I wasn't in control of my life. So that was something that really helped me to change the idea of being a worker overall.
I mean, that's a very nice point as well, because as a process engineer, you are kind of dependent on the schedule of the production and not the other way around. So you have to plan your life according how the production is going, right? Fully understand what you mean with that. But thank you so very much for sharing everything about your job experience. But now, I would like to talk to you more about something that I'm actually very excited to talk about, and that is your platform, the Chemical Engineering Guy. But before, asking all the questions, now you gave a very brief introduction in the very beginning. But for the people who don't know, can you also kindly tell us that what it is that you do through the platform as the very known Chemical Engineering Guy?
Well, the main concept is to make educational content, overall courses, trainings, webinars. I have been doing some articles, blog posts, and of course, trying to be present in social media. Right now, what I see the trend is shifting towards very small content or short content videos. So I need to see how I adapt that, because it's hard to actually like deepen in a engineering topic in the 1 minute or 30 seconds that you have in a TikTok video. But people is going there. So the challenge will be that. But overall, what I do is train yourself or train in a topic that you want to learn on chemical engineering. And my main platform is, of course, long courses, 5-10 hours. I'm now experimenting lower terms, maybe 1 to 2 hours. But overall, that's how my main business has been performing since I started it. I have a website, you go there, or maybe you know me via YouTube or any other social media. You go to my website, you check out the courses. Hopefully you already trust me on my teaching skills and get your course.
Okay, perfect. So you are available on YouTube, you have a website, and on Instagram, and also on TikTok.
TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, and what else?
Amazing.
Quora, I have been doing some Quora.
Okay,
LinkedIn.
amazing. So you are everywhere, you could say. Wherever there's a social media, so you are there.
I try to be everywhere where it makes sense, because sometimes some places don't make that much of a sense, and I stop like creating content on those platforms.
Yep, amazing. But then, now we know that you have made quite a name for yourself, of course, in the social media. And I think it's very difficult to find a chemical engineer who may not have heard of chemical engineering life at one point of their life. But going to very beginning, and you mentioned earlier that the reason you got into this area was because you could not see yourself working in the industry for that long. But then the main question comes up is that because, going on your own especially going into online work, that is a huge decision. Leaving your day job and going up and doing an online job. That is something that is not very physical, and a lot of people advise against it. If I was to ask, what was your opinion back then, and what truly helped you to make that decision to leave your physical job and to go and do this online work?
Well, I would say that I had the advantage of being young. I didn't have any girlfriend or any partner to have a discussion with. I didn't own student loans or any kind of debt. And well, all that is already a privilege, but also I will have the extra privilege of living in a third world country, which is shitty payment, a lot of work hours, and life work balance is definitely not the most great one. And when I try to explain this versus maybe you that living in Denmark, or I went to Germany, so I know Mexicans that went back to Germany, is of course making something of your own in European countries wouldn't make that much of a sense, because the risk may not be that great compared on what you have already. But in countries such as Mexico, Brazil, Middle East, Turkey, it makes much more sense to. So you have a very small, let's say, currently you have something that is not that great, and the rewards are going to be way skyrocket compared to that. So of course it makes a lot of sense to do so. And that will be exactly what I will say to myself. That's what I said to myself when I was 25 years old. And this is the same that I still live that motto, that it's the moment, the rewards are going to be greater. And it's also a noble work to do to help others. So it's all connected, and back in the day made a lot of sense, and right now still makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Well, that's amazing. I mean, that truly is very right, and that's very interesting way to look at it. And I fully agree. As long as the rewards outweigh the risks, then there is no reason for you not to do it. But it's really amazing that you chose that path, at least. But then, because now once you were doing your day job or you had your normal job, did you shift like overnight to your online work, or was it like part-time first and then you went full-time later on?
I tried to make it like as a side, and I started to building all that, but I didn't have the time because I finished job and I did some like hobbies, activities, and I just got back home and I said, I don't want to work. I have 2 hours free. I need to make some extra activities. I don't want to work right now. So I tried to work as much as possible on Saturdays, and I saw that this was not the way. I needed to make it full-time. Otherwise, the advance will not be like, I wouldn't see my project build at the time or rate I wanted to. So that's why I just stopped working and dedicated myself to that. And also the idea of not having an income, it's either good or bad. Because good because you need to like work towards the income, and bad because it's stressful. It's not nice to not have a job or income.
Of course, but I fully agree. I mean, if you're going to do something, at least do it like full-heartedly. You have to go all in, and how they say, burn the ships. So you only have one way, and that's going forward. So that's great. But it's great that you have achieved great success in it. Now it's been 14 years that you have been doing it. No, 9 years, sorry, right? So you've been doing it for 9 years, and you are quite good at it, and you found that you have achieved success in it. But I have to ask, and I think I know the answer, but has it been a very difficult and a long journey to be here where you are today?
Well, it's like a roller coaster, so it wouldn't be that easy to say. Initially, it was fun because I was learning a lot on how to build a website, membership website, and all the marketing, how to it was very baby steps 10 years ago, let's say. And suddenly it started working. So my first courses weren't that much of an impact. I had some sales, but not that hardcore. And then I did a Aspen Plus course, the basic course, and that's helped me to see maybe not full-time income, but helped me to see that it could be a good option to actually try to work towards courses that people is asking, not the courses that I want to make, but what are people asking for.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
eventually it started to level up. And yeah, that's like the main idea is sometimes when the pandemic hit, it was very
Yep.
good for me because a lot of sales, I
Mhm.
like partial, like a lot of success, a lot of sales. You don't
Yep.
need to do that much. But
Mhm.
now I see it may be like hard. It's always hard to try to adapt
Yep.
because back in the day was be certain type of YouTube videos need to be that way. You need to be like more, you need to appear in camera, you need to do more like funny stuff. Back in the day was more on challenges or jokes or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yep.
And then it was Instagram or Reels that more
Mhm.
into like stories. And right now it's more into TikTok. So it's hard to adapt always
Mhm.
what you want to make, but it's the way business
Mhm.
operates. So
Yep.
there's no other way around to do that. So that will be
Mhm.
the overall idea. Yes, it's hard because you need to adapt overall,
Yep.
especially if you have a team that may help you. You need everything depends on yourself. So that's
Mhm.
something that you need
Mhm.
to be able to do and understand that you are the boss, you are
Mhm.
the worker, you are
Mhm.
the marketing guy, you are the operations guy, you are the quality content
Mhm.
control, you're the social media, your
Mhm.
accountant, finances, all that. If you
Mhm.
like that, then you're going to enjoy it. And
Yep.
also be able to, I don't know how to accept risk in a
Yep.
manner, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that wouldn't be able to, okay, I didn't sell this month and
Yep.
it's going to be low. And next
Exactly.
month,
Yep.
maybe it's okay. But you need
Mhm.
to have that guts to say, okay, I can handle it.
Mhm. Exactly. You need to have the strength to keep moving even if you're failing again and again. That's like the main thing of going alone. I fully agree. And of course, the problem with social media is, of course, that it keeps changing. Every year you have a new trend that you have to learn, and it is what it is, and you just have to adapt to it. And you're very right. But then I would like to ask you, let's say, because now back in the day, probably maybe it I would say it was still competitive as it was back then when you started. Of course, it has always been competitive, but you could also argue that now there are a lot more content creators as compared to as they were 5 years ago and compared to the one they were 10 years ago. Let's say if someone would like to go and be a content creator or start an online platform like you did today, what advice would you give them? What are the things that they should be aware of before they start their journey?
Wow, that's interesting question. I will say first, be patient
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't build overnight. You typically see
Mm-hmm.
the ones that skyrocket or go viral, but that's very not likely to happen to you. You need to be constant.
Yeah.
You need to be creative. You need to adapt. Also, sometimes you want to make some ideas of your own. You need to reiterate. Simply, if it doesn't work, change ideas. But also, if you change a lot of ideas, it wouldn't stick. So that balance, it's also important.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing I would say that you need to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoy it, you're going to have a easier time because
Mm-hmm.
you always need patience, and it's also about analytics.
Yep.
How which ideas are working, which are not, how much are you spending, or how efficient are you in such type of videos, and so on. Overall, you have these all opportunities or skills or tools, and you need to know, as any engineering role, to use the most efficient tools for the time that
Mm-hmm.
you are given.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's very nicely advised. Thank you. And I fully agree. Patience is number one thing that you have to have when you are going alone, especially in the world of in the ever changing world that we live in today. But then, I would like to ask you that if you now look back, now I know that you enjoyed this a lot more than your industrial job, but at the same time, do you today feel that if you had stayed in the industry, hypothetically, do you feel that you could ever have reached the success that you have today? Or do you ever look back and say that maybe I could have stayed in the industry for slightly longer or so?
For sure, I could have stayed. That will be the status quo or normal thing to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually the thing that society encourages you.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be happy. And I still remember like waking up early in the morning and asking myself why I am doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and myself answering, because I need to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy with the decision I made. For sure, I'm pretty sure that I will have been able to advance through different stages because I went to the industry because I knew that I wanted to be in the industry first. But my main idea was to eventually change to something like more admin role, or I don't know, something that you go to the office and just stay there, maybe presentation with clients or so. I'm pretty sure I could have make it, but it's something that once again I didn't want to have the limitations of a job. Maybe even though pay will be great, maybe like all may have been good, but still knowing that it doesn't depend on myself is something that I really hate the most, that I may do this decision, but they are not willing to take it, and it really feels like powerless.
I fully agree. I mean, you can't put a price tag on freedom, right? And
Exactly.
also being your own boss and making the decisions yourself, that is priceless. You're not working for someone that doesn't even know your name, but rather you're working for something created of your own. So I fully agree. That's very nicely put. Thank you. But now, it's been 9 years, but I would still say that you're still in the very early stages because there is no, you still have not reached the plateau. You're still ongoing. And like you said, the industry keeps changing. So what are your plans for the future? What do you see yourself doing next?
Well, my main plan has been to grow, eventually have a team and be able to make more content, not only in chemical engineering, but related fields, maybe electronic, maybe process control, more on AI for chemical engineering, or content that helps the actual needs of the chemical engineers, because what I've seen is that the academic needs help the students, not that much the actual engineers. So make more content towards recent graduates or engineers that are shifting from industries. Sometimes you have a very engineer that knows a lot from certain industry. They change, they know the basics on the engineering, but they need to get trained on certain type of products or processes. And that's what I want to attack, help like engineers shift from industry and be able to produce more content with the time that I'm given. So that's like the holy grail is I need to make more courses per unit time.
Okay, amazing. That's truly amazing that you have a plan at least. That's the main part. But I would still say that you have a great deal of impact on a lot of chemical engineers because, like I said, personally, if I speak on my personal level, like I've been following you since I was doing my bachelor's in chemical engineering. That's when I first heard about you, and I think I've seen quite a lot of your videos myself. Have you ever had a viewer or a chemical engineer reach out to you and let you know that how your content has had an impact on their life? Any success stories for that made you feel that you are making an impact on the world?
Well, that will be like every day I get emails or messages or in these courses reviews. And I know that it's really helpful because I make the courses for myself. I imagine myself being, I don't know, a student, and I had no other way to go and study topics that are like chewed and actually helpful, because there's a lot of books that you can get, but they are not so student friendly. And I know I'm helping people, and I get a lot of messages, and in person will be maybe not that much because I don't see that many chemical engineers like working, but online, yes, I get a lot of people thanking me, but also a lot of persons asking for more stuff. Like, okay, I really love this course, but it will be great if you build something related towards that. And so, I really get a lot of feedback with the reviews on comments, emails, posts. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I mean, I bet you do. I bet there are. I mean, like I said, so there are a lot of fans of your work out there. So, but once again, and I say this on behalf of myself and on the behalf of many chemical engineers, that thank you so very much for the work that you put in, and that the work that you have been putting in for the past 9 years, because I feel it truly has made a great deal of difference for people around the globe. So thank you so very much for that, and I hope that you keep putting the same effort, and I hope you achieve even more success in being the chemical engineering guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was all about your platform. But now to jump more into the job prospects, because you're living in Mexico right now. And I know you mentioned about being in a third world country, there are the salaries and the payments are not as good as if you were in a different country. But let's say if someone is living in Mexico as of today and they would like to find a job, do you see that there are some good industries or good prospects for chemical engineers in Mexico?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, the good thing on third world countries is that most of the manufacturing or
Mm-hmm.
big
Yep.
pharma industries, big whatever, bulk chemicals, all are most likely going to be produced in such countries. So if you
Yep.
ask a Brazilian guy or a Mexican guy or someone's India, you will see that there's a lot of industry.
Yep.
And because of laws and we are, let's say, delayed, there's a lot of opportunity of us going to jobs that are not that far away. If you go to countries such as USA or Europe, if you want to work in the industry, they are far away from people. So that's an advantage if you are a citizen of that town or city. But a disadvantage if you're an engineer that wants to work because you need to travel or move. And right now with the nearshoring, the famous nearshoring for the US that used to have a lot of industries in Asia, let's say China, Vietnam, and so on. Lots are coming back to Mexico, northern part of Mexico. Overall, Mexico, we'll say. So we're living a boom, which is very helpful for manufacturing. We have been a manufacturing country since maybe 30 years already. And now it's like the super boom. So there's going to be a lot of jobs. And you can see that already. You check out the average salary in Mexico compared to maybe 10 years ago, and it has increased considerably. So I would say that it looks promising overall, but still with the same problems or issues I'm telling you, that it's not likely that you're going to have a nice balance, work-life balance. Now we are getting far away, so you are going to be driving more. Your commuting times are going to increase. Pollution, air pollution, all that is also some issues, but overall we are going in the right direction, I will say.
Okay, amazing. I mean, that's also good news, and I fully agree regarding it's more always the third world countries that have the highest opportunities because that's where all the production takes place.
Exactly. If you want to work in machines, it's easier this way.
Exactly, I fully agree. So I guess in a way, it is still a silver lining for chemical engineers that there is a boom in Mexico, so they can expect to have multiple opportunities in the coming future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, great. Well, that's great because but that's great. But it's been 90, like I said. So you've been in the industry, you've been on your own. And now you have had a lot of personal growth in the past years that since you've graduated. What if I could give you a time machine, and if you could go in and you can go back in any time in the past that you wanted to, what advice would you give to your past self? Something that you know today, but you wish you had known before.
Well, the obvious one will be invest in Bitcoin and sell it in
yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
That's the easiest one, but I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Let me 1 second. I will say life is not what society tells you about. Try to break society rules more often and try to break the mold that you have already. Think outside of the box. And yeah, always work hard. Working hard is always a great idea, but also work intelligent. So ensure that you are working towards the goal that you want to achieve. It's valid through all the ages. So maybe I would say in high school or early college will be a good idea. So to try to push it. And yeah, that will be my main guess on the time machine.
Yep. Well, that's very nicely put. That is very nicely put. I mean, that's something that we all have to, and just like you said, it's for all the age groups that you don't have to live your life how society wants you to live, but you need to live your life on how you want to live. That is a very nicely put. That is a very good, the golden advice, I would say. Thank you so very much. Thank you. But then, very last segment, very last question that I'll ask you now is that, you said yourself that the world is changing, the industries in change, the industries are changing. Now we have a lot of AI, for example, in chemical engineering, which was not happening a couple of years back. The people have a very different attention span now as it was before. The people that are graduating today in 2023, what suggestion would you give to them that what should they follow to have a proper career in chemical engineering?
So actually, my main tip will be don't stick with chemical engineering because it may not be that convenient. Try to be adapt to the situations and ensure to get a proper training in software skills, AI, process automation, anything that you see that in the future may not be quite removed, because I listen or hear a lot of things from chemical engineers saying that the engineer needs to be always there and that there's not going to happen anything. But I really think it's not the case. A lot of AI is going to take over to a lot of process engineers that are going to make way better decisions than they human.
Of course, and
there's going to be a polarization or polarization, but distribution on the actual skills that are required for engineering. And the best thing to do is don't stick to a single industry. Be open to adapt to other ones. Maybe you are a lot of chemical engineers are into computer science. Maybe you can opt that way. Maybe you can do a master degree in AI or machine learning, whatever. And yeah, don't take it easy, guys. So it's going to be harder. As anything with life, when I graduated, they told me the same. It's going to be harder, and it was. It's not. If I compare myself to chemical engineers that graduated in the 90s or the 80s, they had it easy. They just go apply for a job, get nice jobs and good pays. Maybe the same shitty situation that I was telling you, a lot of work hours and so on. But it was easier. You just apply. There was not that much competition. Right now, or back when I graduated, there's a lot of competition, a lot of degrees that are like interconnecting that may affect the chemical engineer. And right now, it's not even between humans. It's also the AI and a lot of like systems, companies that will simply like remove the task of certain type of engineers and will be displaced.
And you're very right, because people need to start going towards software. Even if you are graduating with a chemical degree, software is the way to go. But thank you so very much for sharing that, and thank you for that. But that concludes all the questions that we had for you. And once again, thank you so very much for being with us here today and for answering all the questions. It has truly been an immense pleasure having you on the podcast, Emmanuel. But before we log off, do you have anything else you would like to say to the viewers?
No, well, first, thanks for making this effort on actually continuing the project. I used to have a podcast, but I got lazy and forgot to keep on. I will try to retake that. I really think it's very nice to. What I enjoyed the most was actually having the conversations with other interesting engineers. And I think that you are doing a great job. Overall, you're helping other students or younger engineers that may get inspired or motivated towards getting a chemical engineering degree, or if they already have it, maybe have other ideas of what are other type of engineers doing with their chemical engineering degree. So overall, that will be for you. And for the audience, try to make more content. If you're having a doubt, or maybe you're wondering if you should make content, chemical engineering content or engineering content overall, go for it, because we really need a lot of content out there for help between each other. There's not that much content in our specific niche. So if you're wondering, go for it.
Great. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And once again, and I would just like to thank you as well for, once again, for all the effort and the determination that you have shown yourself in the platform. And like I said, it's truly been godsend from the work that you're putting in. So thank you very much for that. And once again, thank you for being here on the podcast.
Thank you for listening. And if you have not done so already, remember to become a free member at Chemical Engineering Life. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stay tuned for more upcoming podcasts with chemical engineers. Thank you, and have a great day.